No, but the thing that really irked me was being a sailor in an Air Force aeroplane, being shot down by a soldier. It was bad.
The pattern of attacks was now set. Over the next few days and weeks, the Luftwaffe would try different combinations of planes and targets to help bring a decisive result against Fighter Command.
The bombers came in, sometimes they'd go direct to the target and sometimes they'd go offset and then turn to the target. So the ground control couldn't guarantee that the bomber stream would go in the direction it started.
The Germans had two major tactics at this stage of the battle. Bombers flew over in large formations, luring RAF fighters into the attack. German 109s would then swoop down from above, and if the RAF didn't attack, then the bombers would bomb their airfields unhindered. Either way, the Germans thought that Fighter Command would be on the ropes.
The first bombing we took was at Middle Wallop, just as the airfield bombing started, and the siren went. They were dropping everywhere. Lumps of masonry were flying about, tables were erupting. We were right in the middle of it, so we shot outside as quick as we could, mug of tea in one hand, bread and jam in the other. We were only kids, mind you, 17, 18. But they knocked hell out of the place. They flattened the hangars. A string of bombs came through the top of the hangar, hit the hangar door and lifted it and dropped it on a crowd of people running past. And we ran down to see if we could do it, but we couldn't. But there was a WAF's arm sticking out with a wristwatch on. Still going.
We realised that something quite serious was happening, put it that way. We were losing a lot of airplanes, that the Germans were doing a certain amount of damage to the infrastructure of Fighter Command, that we were losing pilots, and just more or less just keeping up.
We were getting short of fuel, and the flight sergeant, the bloke in charge of the ground crew, said, "We need some fuel, go and get some." To me, I'd have done anything to drive the tractor, which was towing a fuel bowser, so I jumped on and off I went across the airfield. All hell going on, and I looked up and there's a Heinkel 111, and as I looked up I could see the bombs leave it, and it went like that, and the bombs came out. The tractor wasn't going fast enough for me. I got off it and ran. I ran and ran until I couldn't run another inch. I was totally out of breath. I dropped down on the thing, and as I dropped, I heard these bombs drop in the main camp. Then I had to catch the tractor up and drive it back to dispersal.
These attacks inflicted grievous damage, but airfields were up and running again within hours. And just as with the radar stations, Goering failed to press home his attacks. On the 15th of August, he expressly forbade his aircraft from attacking the same airfield 2 days running. In a stroke, he had virtually assured the survival of Fighter Command. Even so, the skies of Kent were becoming a very dangerous place for both sides. By the 27th of August, the 2 weeks fighting since Eagle Day had claimed 208 RAF and 413 Luftwaffe aircraft.
Everybody in the squadron was either shot down or bailed out or crashed or did something all around Maidstone. In fact, we knew Leeds Castle like the back of our hand because we'd all landed there one time.
With losses escalating on both sides, Goering was the first to lose his nerve. Unhappy he was losing so many bombers, he issued orders that his fighter escorts should fly close to them and not high above as they had before. This made the bomber crews feel safer, but it stripped the fighters of their natural advantages, speed and height.
The whole point of a fighter's advantage is the fact that it's fast, and now we were ordered to give up our speed and fly alongside the bombers. In doing so, we were totally inferior. In this situation, with the British flying towards us at a great speed from high altitude, we didn't stand a chance. This meant we incurred heavy losses.
Davers returned to Duxford after the long sortie to the south coast. In 1940, he would now have faced a barrage of questions from intelligence officers trying to piece together a picture of the day's air fighting.
Any claims, Johnny? A 109 destroyed, Freddie, yes. Oh, good show.
These combat reports were notoriously inaccurate, as confusion and enthusiasm took their toll on the true picture of the day's events.
And there used to be various people flying around who would always get back a bit late when the rest of the squadron had already landed and say, oh, I went a bit north towards the North Sea, came across half a dozen chaps and shot 2 down, you see. These great fellows with their moustaches.
Now look at it from our point of view. We would shoot at aircraft at 18,000 feet. We would record what we thought we'd done. The aeroplane would then go down. Don't forget there would be 35 squadrons in the air at the same time. So it could well be that the aeroplane would be attacked 3 or 4 times before it hit the ground.
For the Germans, the situation was made even worse by a system that not only encouraged wild overclaiming, but actually reduced the combat efficiency of their fighter squadrons.
The Luftwaffe actually had an incentive system of getting awards, the Knight's Cross, the swords and the oak leaves and so on, that was based on how many kills you got. Unfortunately, however, it produced a system in which these people became prima donnas, in which getting the highest score was the only thing that mattered to them, which demoralized the rest of them. And you get a ridiculous situation where you will get the whole of a Geschwader trying to protect their star ace as he goes out to shoot down one more Spitfire, and actually ignoring the real tasks, which are to protect bombers. This was a tension the Luftwaffe suffered from right the way through the war.
There was another disadvantage. As well as creating aces, the German system rewarded dishonest pilots prepared to fabricate their successes. So whilst both sides were overclaiming, for the Germans it was creating a yawning reality gap, letting them believe they were inflicting far higher losses on the RAF than they actually were. German intelligence was convinced fighter command was close to collapse, yet every day German pilots discovered the RAF seemed as strong as ever. The dream of air supremacy was still a long way off. However, the Germans weren't the only ones making some serious mistakes.
One of our great problems at the beginning of the war is we were not trained as well as the Germans. Our tactics were out of date. We used to fly type formations, which was absolute asking for murder, and we got the chop left, right and centre.
Pilots were taught to fly in close formations of 3, called Vics. This required great skill, but was useless in a dogfight. It forced pilots to spend all their time avoiding collisions rather than looking out for the enemy. But it's a skill Dave will still have to learn. We've brought in one of the current world experts in piloting Second World War planes to teach him this and aerobatics.
My name's Peter Kinsey. I'm the chief pilot of the fighter collection here at Duxford. I was the British aerobatic champion for 3 years and represented the UK in the World Aerobatic Championships and the Europeans. And since I've stopped that sport, I've been training aerobatic pilots and also doing display flying instruction. I'm an examiner for the Civil Aviation Authority for display pilots.
OK, so Dave, what are we going to do today? Today's exercises, we're going to start off with formation flying, and the position we'll be flying is a formation called echelon, which is, there's the leader, and you'll be back here about 45 degrees back, just slightly behind the leader.
While Dave pilots the dual-seater Spitfire with Carolyn, Pete will be leading the sortie in a single-seater Mark V Spitfire. Dave will be trying to fly as close in behind Pete's wing as possible.
The original idea in the training was